Slow down.
Hi there.
Thanks for joining us. Give everybody just a minute to log on. I'm glad everybody could join us today. If you're having trouble seeing my comment up at the top for the announcement of this next installment of our series, but we're right at 11 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Virtual Career Day series. My name is Josh Walker, and I'm coming to you live from my home again, because like you, we're living and working from home these days. If this is your first time joining us, this is our effort in HKS to introduce you to the many types of people it takes to make one of the largest architecture firms in the world run. We have architects, interior designers, accountants, engineers, human resources, researchers, and everything in between. And we design everything from hospitals, hotels, skyscrapers, to sports centers. And so it really is a little bit of everything. And so far we've talked to sustainability engineer Mike Brown, director of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, Giselle Santos Rivera, architect David Cadet, interior designer Adelia Schlois, architectural photographer Daryl Shields. And this week we're going international. HKS is a global firm, so we're talking to one of our design leaders from the London office, Dan Flower. Dan, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
I'm seeing some comments that our audio is having some trouble. Let me see if I can try repositioning my mic. See if this helps anything. But diving right into the questions, Dan, what if we go back to your early high school days, what did you think your career would look like? Did you always envision yourself being in the design field?
I don't think I did. I think it was around about the age of 15. This is going back some years now, so even those in the UK might not go through the system anymore. But we used to have a kind of a careers interview where they tried to ask you a series of questions, and you came back with a series of answers of things that you liked, and mine in no way pointed towards architecture. I did know that I liked art, and I kind of liked the beginnings. Some of the first versions of Photoshop were coming out, things like that. This is back in the mid to early 90s. But I didn't really have, I didn't really think I'd get into architecture. It wasn't really on my horizon when I was at school and making my decisions and choices.
Interesting. So at what point did you discover architecture?
Well, I think the outcomes of that careers interview was something like an electrical engineer. So you might say that I wasn't too far away in where I've ended up, in that we worked with some of them. But I went to university. I kind of wanted to combine design with knowledge of computers and the digitizing world. And I actually signed up and went to university to do computer science, which on reflection probably wouldn't be the natural route in. And I quickly realized this wasn't kind of the side of design that I really wanted to take. It's a world unto itself. It's a world that I survived in for a year. And I actually had two really good friends who were doing architecture, who I was at college with. And I remember sitting them down and asking them what the best and worst things were about architecture. Went to the architecture department at my university, which was the University of Nottingham here in England, and sort of talked to a couple of tutors about it and felt that it would be a pretty good fit for what I wanted to do. I think it was really the creativity that I felt wasn't part of, or I wasn't getting the creative side of things from the computer science that I was doing, and it was a creative muscle that I really needed to work.
Okay, so the creative aspect brought you to architecture, and is that typical for architects and designers in London? Do they kind of come from divergent paths, or is there more of a straight track and you're the anomaly?
I think what I found out, I went to two schools of architecture to do my 2 degrees, and I realized that on kind of getting there, that people came from a whole range of backgrounds. I did A levels, I did 3 A levels, back when that was standard. I did art, physics, and maths, so I kind of had a bit of a technological background, I suppose. Studied technical drawing when I was younger, but I also had kind of a freer artistic side. Some people say, that was a very good thing to go into architecture with. But when I got there, I realized that everyone had taken different paths. Some people had worked on building sites, some people had worked as technicians in offices or in graphics, and actually that got even more diverse when I did my diploma, and I realized that people were coming in from all sorts of different backgrounds. And although mine is a kind of a creative routine, I suppose, there are one of the wonderful things about the diversity of the architectural profession and the number of people it takes to put a building project together is that there are requirements for really technical aspects of it, very computational aspects of it, creative aspects of it. My greatest skill is probably being able to sketch freehand, which I've kind of always held as a way of communicating. But people have different ways of communicating, and architecture is quite a broad church when it comes to how you're able to do that.
Okay, so you're talking a lot about the diversity of people it takes to make the profession happen, and a lot of people coming from a lot of different directions. And I imagine that leads them to land at different places around the firm. And so we talked 3 weeks ago with the David Cadet about architecture proper as a career path, but your role is technically a little different than architect or project architect for specific. You're a design director. What do you see as the difference of career there?
Well, I started off as an architectural assistant, having done a degree in architecture. Joined HKS as an architectural assistant, the old fresh out of college, and I've been with the company about 17 years now, and I've worked in several of the sectors as an assistant, as a project architect, and in that time, I think the size of the London office has grown and shrunk, depending on economic times. It's a pretty good time at the moment, in fact. One of the things that I learned was the diversity of roles that you play as a single practitioner or a professional in that. You tend to do quite a lot, so you've got to have quite a wide aspect of skills to do that. A design director, what I tend to do is we've got 5 different sectors here in London. A lot of project architects, a lot of designers in there. But part of my role is to have an overview of what's going on in the practice in our area, looking over Europe and the Middle East, and to, HKS has got a design methodology, a way that they think about the process of design, and we try to make sure that each of those projects that we're looking at is nourished in a certain way, and that our clients are getting a great set of diverse thinking from us, that the best ideas are coming from the design team, and honestly, they can be found anywhere. They don't just come from one person. They don't just come from the architect in charge. So we make sure that we run design charrettes and reviews to make sure that that project is fully nourished and kind of pulls in ideas from all backgrounds, because we think that makes a better project.
All right. So talking specifically about your job and the coordination of so many perspectives and all that information, is that the hardest part of your job, is keeping tabs on all of the various inputs that could possibly go into it? Is that the most challenging bit? And if not, what is?
Inbox management. No, I was asked this, I spoke to school once, and it's a question that nearly caught me out. I think it was a 13 or 14-year-old. They said, what's the most difficult part of architecture? And I asked them what they thought, and they thought it would be the structural part. Luckily, we have structural engineers to collaborate with. I think that the most enjoyable part, but also the most difficult part, is people as well. And that's not because people are difficult. It's just because it takes an enormous number of people to collaborate with and to talk with and to get permissions from and to kind of to move in a general direction along an architecture. An architectural project, and I think getting people on board, understanding when you haven't got it right, and listening to them is really important. And so it's super rewarding to get that right. But equally, sometimes, sometimes clients and collaborators can be super demanding, and they can make your life interesting. But when you overcome those challenges, there's no greater feeling.
Yes, and let me tell everybody who's watching, that's an international answer. That's the same no matter where you go.
No, it's certainly true.
All right, last pair of questions. What does it take to pursue a career like yours? And then what does it take to be really good at it?
I can certainly answer the first one. The second one, I'll let others decide if I'm good at it. To pursue a career, having an interest in the field of architecture helps. I'd say get really good at something, focus on something. In my side, it's the creative aspect. I suppose you'd call me a generalist rather than a specialist in that. Never think that you've kind of got it wrong, or there's one entry into architecture. I could have said that at a certain point in time that I got it wrong and gone to college for the wrong thing, but actually it gave me a set of skills that I was able to carry in. Be persistent, be patient. The world of construction can be a little bit old school at times, but it needs change. It needs new people in it. It needs challenge, and it needs that to stay fresh. So don't give up. Pursue your dreams. There's probably a position in architecture for you somewhere. There's a wide-ranging number of those in our company at HKS, but there are lots of architects doing everything from tiny conversions to enormous stadia. So there's normally a place in there for anyone. But be super persistent. It doesn't come quickly, but when it does, it's very rewarding.
Good advice. Last question is going to be really fast. If I'm going on the website and I want to look up your favorite project you've worked on, where do I go?
A project that's incredibly dear to my heart was a project called Kachimbala Maternity Unit, which is at the absolute polar opposite to, at the same time I was working on an incredible project in Kuwait, the children's hospital there, which is said to be the world's biggest children's hospital. At the same time I was working on this incredible maternity unit in the middle of Africa. And it really shows the diversity that a same skill set can, you can kind of transpose between an absolute mega thing of a building and this tiny little, almost handcrafted piece. And it was a delight to work on both of those, and to work with the clients, and particularly the ladies who ran both of those medical facilities. It taught me so much about the scale and diversity that the profession can deliver, and the enjoyment that you can take from tiny projects and enormous projects at the same time. Absolutely. Great answer. Everybody look up Kachimbala Maternity Ward on our website, or you can probably Google it. There's a lot of press about it. It's a great project, very rewarding for the entire firm to know that we were in some way a part of that. But that brings us to the end of our interview this week. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Dan, for setting the time aside. Thank you. If this seems like a good fit for you, if you're interested in this, look at our website. We've got a lot of work out there you can explore. If you're thinking maybe this isn't the perfect fit, come learn about somebody else in the firm next week. We'll be here, same time, same place, and we'd love to tell you about the people Dan works with. Also remember that we'll go live on our Instagram TV and on our our YouTube page. And so you can find this and refer friends to it, and we'll follow up on questions that you might leave there. Appreciate everybody's time. Stay safe. Thank you.